Good morning, children. I hope you all are keeping well at your home, right? So, if you're having any queries regarding your study materials, you are always free to send me your queries. I will try my best to solve out your queries. So, let's start with our online lesson for today. So, in the previous lessons, we have learnt about the plant tissues, their different types, structure, as well as functions. Today we will start with the animal tissues. So on the basis of the structure of cells and their function, this animal tissues, they are categorized into four major types. What are those? Epithelial tissue, muscular tissue, nervous tissue and connective tissue. In this lesson, we will concentrate on the first two types, that is epithelial tissue and muscular tissue. Firstly, epithelial tissue. What is that epithelial tissue? It is a thin, protective, continuous sheet of cells. And where it is located, it covers the surface of the body. So, any surface lining of the body refers to the epithelial tissues. And it also lines the various body cavities, internal organs, including the blood vessels. So, wherever the outermost layer is being present, that is referred to as the epithelial tissue, which is very much thin and it helps in the process of protection. Examples of what? The outermost layer of skin and the lining surface of the mouth, nose, lungs and stomach. So if it is asked what is the location of this epithelial tissues with examples, you have to write this as the examples of the location of epithelial tissues. Now coming to the shape. How does it look like? What is the shape? It can be flat, cuboidal or columnar in shape. Flat we all know. It is a flat dish types. Cuboidal, cube shape. You know, I've already studied in maths what is a cube shape, and columnar is a filament-like structure. So in all these cases, wherever epithelial tissues are being present, we have seen that there are no spaces in between them. That means the intercellular spaces are being absent in case of epithelial tissues. So what is the function? The epithelial tissue, it functions as the means of protection. Now coming to the types of epithelial tissue. So depending upon the structure of the shape and function of the cells of this epithelial tissues, there are different types of epithelial tissues which are present, such as squamous epithelium, cuboidal epithelium, columnar epithelium, glandular epithelium and ciliated epithelium. So one by one we will see all the details of that. So firstly, coming to the characteristic property of different types of epithelial tissues. First is shape of cells. The squamous epithelium, it consists of thin flat disc-like polygonal or irregular shaped cells with round and fat nucleus. So in this one, the shape is mainly flat in nature along with a flat nucleus also. Sometimes the shape of the cell may be irregular shaped. In case of cuboidal epithelium, it consists of a cube-like cells. From the name we can understand cube-like cells are present with almost equal in height and width. Thirdly, the columnar or glandular epithelium, it consists of tall cylindrical pillar-like cells. Basal part of the cell bears oval nucleus. So in this one, it is a little different one, in which consists of a cylindrical-like structure, and here specifically we can see that the nucleus is oval in nature, whereas in previous one, squamous epithelium, we have seen the nucleus is flat in nature. The ciliated epithelium, if you consider, it consists of tall cells with cytoplasmic hair like cilia at the free end. So cilia is present. The structure is almost similar to that of columnar or glandular epithelium, but cilia is present here as because it helps in the process of movement. The next characteristic property, appearance of cells. Firstly, squamous epithelium, the adjacent cells, they fit together like tiles on a pavement or floor. That means what? They are present side by side to each other and they are having, more importantly, no intercellular spaces in between them. The cuboidal epithelium, the cells, they appear square-like in vertical section, but their free surface seems to be hexagonal. Why hexagonal appearance? Because the cells we have studied previously, it is tube-like. The free end of the cells, in case of this columnar or glandular epithelium, the cells consist of finger-like projections called microvilli. Whereas in ciliated epithelium, the cells, it can be cuboidal or as well as columnar. And therefore, they're also called ciliated cuboidal epithelium or ciliated columnar epithelium. If it is in shape of cuboidal, it is ciliated cuboidal epithelium. And if it is a columnar shape, then it is ciliated columnar epithelium. Third characteristic property, place of occurrence, that is location. Squamous epithelium, it forms a lining of nose, pericardial cavity, blood vessels, lung, alveoli and so on. In case of the second one, that is a cuboidal epithelium, the present in kidney tubules, salivary glands and so on. Third one, columnar or glandular, present in the inner surface of stomach, intestine, gallbladder and so on. And fourthly, in case of ciliated epithelium, it is present in the lining of trachea, fallopian tube, nasal passage and so on. So this third point, this place of occurrence, it is very important, children. You have to remember this as a means of location, because short questions do come from this portion. The fourth characteristic property, that is function. What is the function of squamous epithelium? It protects the underlying parts of the body from the mechanical injury. So any type of mechanical injury, it is being protected with the help of this squamous epithelium. Secondly, it prevents the entry of germs inside our bodies. That means what? Any type of germs, it is unable to enter our body as a means of protection. Thirdly, it prevents desiccation of organs. So what is desiccation? I've mentioned previously also that desiccation is the removal of this water, right? So wherever this water is absent, it prevents that desiccation of the organs which are present, and facilitates the diffusion of gases. Diffusion means it is movement of particles from higher concentration to lower concentration, specifically in the gases, right? So it facilitates, it helps in the process of diffusion of gases. Next, in case of this cuboidal epithelium, what is the function? It provides mechanical support to the organs. It is providing support, rigidity, secretion of gastric juices. The gastric juices in the stomach, they are being secreted with the help of this. Absorption and excretion process is also helping in the process. Thirdly, in case of this columnar or glandular epithelium cells, what is the function? It helps in the absorption of the nutrients. So absorption process is being taking place. I've mentioned that here in this point I've mentioned microvilli is being present. So it is helping in the process of absorption. The secretion of gastric juices. So this also helps in the secretion of gastric juices. So both cuboidal as well as columnar, both are helping in the secretion of gastric juices. And thirdly, it provides mechanical support to the different organs which are being present, that is providing rigidity. The fourth one, that is ciliated epithelium. It causes movement of small solid particles or mucus in a specific direction through the ducts. So there are some ducts which are present, as well as I have mentioned, there are some cilia which are present, which is helping in the movement. Secondly, it causes movement of ovum and zygote towards the uterus. So in the process of human fertilization, this ciliated epithelium, it helps in the function. Thirdly, it helps in removing unwanted particles from the trachea. So the trachea which is being present, which helps in the process of respiration. So these unwanted particles are also removed because of the ciliated epithelium cells. So as a whole, these types, I think it's clear to everyone, the characteristic property and their details of the epithelial tissues. Now next one, we'll move on to the muscular tissues. So the muscular tissues, from the name you can understand the muscles are being involved over here, right? So the muscular tissue, it constitutes what? All the muscles of the body of an animal. So this muscle cells, how are they? They are elongated and large sized, and they are called as muscle fibers. Okay, and they are typically arranged in parallel arrangement, allowing them to work effectively. So parallel means one by one, side by side, right? So allowing them to work effectively, that means what? They are helping in the effective work as a altogether. So this tissue is responsible for the movement of our body. We all know that the muscles, they are being present. Why? They are helping out in the movement of our body parts, right? So this tissue is also helping in that. And how it is helping? It is consisting of some special proteins which are called contractile proteins. So what is the function of this contractile proteins? This contractile proteins, they can contract or relax out and they can cause movement thereby. So depending on the location, structure and function, the three types of muscle fibers are being noted down. What are those? Striated muscles, smooth muscles and cardiac muscles. So the striated muscles, how do they look like? They are striped. That means stripes are present, skeletal or voluntary muscles. Now the voluntary means what? Voluntary means whatever is present, we can work according to our will. Our function we can do according to our necessity. That is called the voluntary muscles. And smooth muscles, that the unstriated, that means no stripes are present. That the visceral or the involuntary muscles. That means the muscles which are not moving according to our will. And third is the cardiac muscles. Cardiac, always remember children, the word cardiac is referring to the heart. So the muscles of the heart are called the cardiac muscles. So we will look on to the difference of these three types of muscles. Firstly, where it is present. The unstriated or the smooth muscles, they are present where? In the wall of the alimentary canal, the blood vessels, and the respiratory tract and the urinary bladder. Whereas the striated muscles or the stripped muscles, they are present in the limbs, tongue, body wall and pharynx. If we just consider an example of tongue, I was talking about the voluntary action. So suppose a tongue, whenever we need the function of the tongue, we want to chew or want to move something, we then move the tongue, right? So it is working according to our will. And third is the cardiac muscles. As I mentioned, cardiac refers to heart. So it is present in the wall of the heart. Secondly, what is the shape? The muscle fibers in case of unstriated muscles, they are spindle shaped. Spindle means what? Boat-shaped structures. Secondly, the striated muscles, these muscle fibers are cylindrical in nature. You all know what is the structure of cylinder, right? As well as the cardiac muscles, they are also cylindrical in nature. Third is the fibers of this unstriated, they are unbranched. The fibers of the striated, they are also unbranched, whereas the cardiac muscles, they are branched in nature. The unstriated muscle cells, they are multinuclear, that means many nucleus are present, whereas the other two types, striated as well as cardiac, they are uninuclear, that means one nucleus is present. The nerve supply from the autonomous nervous systems takes place in case of unstriated muscles, wherever the striated muscles, the nerve supply takes place from the central nervous system or the CNS. And in case of cardiac, what is happening? Both autonomous ANS and CNS are taking place in the process of nerve supply. In the first unstriated ones, from the name you can understand, no striations are present, so the cross striations will be obviously absent. In case of striated, the dark and light bands, that means the striations, are definitely present. And in case of cardiac, the cross striations and intercalated disc are present. Intercalated disc means wherever the striations are present, in between there are some disc-like structures which are being present. The first one, unstriated, exhibits slow contraction. Whereas the other two, striated and cardiac, they are having rapid contraction. That means they are moving rapidly. Next point is the unstriated, as I have mentioned, they are involuntary, as well as cardiac, they are also involuntary. They are not moving according to our will. Whereas the striated muscles, they are obviously voluntary and they are moving according to our will. Second is that, next point is that they do not get fatigue. Both cardiac as well as unstriated, they do not get fatigue. They do not, they are not having any problems while working 24/7, right? But the muscles which are striated, they get fatigue. For example, if we run for some time or if we walk for some times, our muscles will fatigue away, right? We will feel lazy out, right? So these muscles are getting fatigued. What is the function? The unstriated muscles, it causes contraction and mobility in visceral organs and involuntary muscles. In case of striated, it causes movement of limbs and locomotion. And in case of cardiac, it causes the heartbeat. So I hope this part of the muscular tissue, the different types, their characteristic properties are all clear to you people, right? So in this lesson, what we have learned? We have learned about the different types of epithelial tissues, their characteristic features, right? The differences, as well as we have studied about the muscular tissues, the different types, as well as the characteristic property with the functions. So I hope that this part of this chapter is clear to everybody. In case of any doubt, you are always free to send your queries to me. I will try my best to solve out your queries. Thank you so much.